My name is Laurel Moehring, and I'm here to celebrate Beltane with you and create a ritual with you. Beltane is symbolically the marriage of the god and goddess, the two deities that Wiccans and many pagans revere. I have a little statue here of a sun god. He's a Celtic god called Lugh, which means light. I also have a little sun candle that I'm going to light for him specifically. And I have a little oak leaf right here, which represents his dominion over the vegetative state, as well as all the animals. The god in our tradition is known as the Green Man during this period of time, because this is all about agricultural crops primarily and the fertility of the land. The goddess I have represented here with a little three-legged cauldron, and I am going to use some sage, and then I will pop that into the cauldron when I'm done with it. The cauldron, of course, represents the womb of the goddess from which all creation emerges. I have a little pink flower for her. Floralia is another name for this time period. It has little cool lights in it. And then right here, I also have a beautiful egg. I believe this one is fluorite. And this, of course, represents her fertility. So this is a fertility ritual meant to bring about fertility, not only in the sexual aspect, which, of course, was super important to our ancestors, slightly less so for us modern folks, in terms of crops and animals and so on and so forth. But modern people use this time, of course, to celebrate this union, which continues the circle of life, but also in our own personal lives to celebrate the unions we have to our mates and other people. We celebrate the balance of the seasons at this time. So it's a super great time for people to work on balancing their own energy, learning to ground, learning to breathe. It's not that easy right now due to lots of things going on, but it's very essential for your health and your state of mind that you do try to remain calm, to stay grounded. And this is a great time to do that because you can also be joyful while you're grounded. It's very different from the spring or the winter. It's very much about the sun. It is a cross quarter, and the cross quarters are the four rituals that we do that concern the sun, and then there's four other rituals that we do that concern the earth. So this is about the sun primarily today. Let's see. The goddess manifests as the May Queen, also known as Flora. The god manifests as the May King, also known as Jack in the Green. People used to dance a maypole representing the god and the goddess wrapping herself around him. Some of you folks may have actually danced a maypole. I can remember doing it when I was very, very young. And I have not seen one for a while, but I do know some folks that have them erected permanently in their big yards and what have you. The Green Man you've probably seen on various statues and other things like that. It has leaves all over with a face peering out at you. That is the face of the god that we are primarily focused on today. Again, he is a vegetative god, and I have a little oak leaf here representing that. And he's also the god of all the animals. But we're focusing on his vegetative powers at this time. People used to, and maybe still do, create May baskets. They fill them with flowers and, of course, their goodwill and bring them to shut-ins and elderly friends. We're all pretty much shut-ins now, so maybe you can give one to your person that you live with. People also used to do nature communion, which means that they would go out into the woods or the fields and bless those places with their own magic. Let's see, in Germany, the fir tree, which of course they love their fir trees there, they made a song called O Tannenbaum. Those trees are also used to create a pole. They would put it up in the village square, guard it all night long, and then May Day would come, and all the young folks, would do the interweaving of ribbons, which allowed them to be close to each other and look at each other and be very intimate as they got closer and closer together. It was a very important time back then for looking for a mate, finding an appropriate partner. So super busy time for a lot of people, and this period of time would be followed by marriages and hand fastings, and then a honeymoon, which generally happens in June, during which time they were basically left alone for a couple of weeks, and hopefully a baby would come along in 9 months from June. So that was the people aspect of it. Of course, they were also raising varieties of animals, and so they were dealing with that. And of course, they were growing crops and tree crops too. Nuts, fruits, lumber, all that stuff. So another thing that people would do during this period would be to jump over the Beltane fire. It's a symbolic way of cleansing themselves and being blessed by the god and goddess. And in those times, they would drive their cattle between two big bonfires. Bonfires are really important on the sun holidays. Obviously, they represent the sun, but interestingly enough, they would drive their cattle through in between these two big fires. And there has been some research done as to what exactly that was supposed to do. They thought they were driving away evil spirits, but indeed there have been some proofs that certain pests, and I'm not sure which ones exactly, could be driven off the cattle's hide by going between these two fires. So I thought that was kind of interesting. There were, of course, a number of different things that a variety of our ancestors partook. And some of them, sound really cute and funny because we're not really involved in the farming of our food, and we're not super intense about seasons. We stay indoors a lot. And here in Florida, it's kind of hard to sometimes differentiate between one and the other unless you've been here a long time. All of these dates are astrologically based. So we are now looking at the beginning of the sign of Taurus, the bull. We just finished Aries, the ram. That's the first astrological sign of the year. So we've moved from the first month out of the spring towards the summer, and right now we're smack in between. And that's what Beltane is about. One thing that you might decide to do is to go outside on May Eve or first thing May Day before the sun comes up and wash your face in dew. It will make you more beautiful. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We are celebrating again the symbolic union of our deities, and we do that through ritual, which we will begin now. So I would like everybody, if you could, to sit back, relax, roll those shoulders back, feet down, or if you're in your recliner, feet out, and let's get this thing started. All right. We will now call for peace in all four quarters and within our hearts. So, please lend your energy to all of the callings that I do, if you would care to, because it's important, since we're doing this together as a church, even though we're far apart from each other, that each of us try to raise some energy to send out to our earth, because we basically send all of our energies down into the Mother Earth so that she can transmute the negative into positive and accept the positive that we send to her. You are allowed to let go of negativity to the Mother if you so choose. She can help to relieve you. Think of negative thoughts that you have that you could wash away in the shower, or that you could, imaginary throw into a volcano. That's important because our imaginations are our mind's eye. And when we do ritual, the whole point is to stir up that energy and move it out into the world. there are so many places that need peace right now. There are so many of us that are not peaceful right now. So if you could please just go ahead and put your little peaceful thinking cap on. Let's go. May there be peace in the north. May there be peace in the south. May there be peace in the west. May there be peace in the east. We who are gathered here, we call for peace in this land. We call for peace in our hearts and towards our fellow beings. I am now going to cast the circle around myself. I am going to be envisioning this circle, including all of the people who are watching and may watch later. So what I am envisioning is essentially a sphere. So if you can envision a sphere, a ball of white light, and blow that white light ball up as far as you can to lend a hand, that would be super. All right, here we go. I've got my little selenite wand here, and we are going to start casting our circle, and that just gives us a magical place from which to do our ritual without any sort of negativity entering in. Sacred ones, spirits of the oak and spirits of the heath, the dryads, the devas, all of you who have heard our intention, we ask with respect that you encircle us now, and branch for branch, leaf for leaf, roots beneath our feet entangling. We know this circle to be strong. In the name of the gods whose power we both breathe, we ask that this be so. So mote it be. All right. Here we go. Energy is going to push out from you guys and enter into the circle, this container, which we are making bigger and bigger to invite everybody into. All right, here we go. I find it handy to rub my hands together, get a little energy up in there, and then stretch my arms out, hands up, as above, so below. We've already called the 4 quarters, but if you wish, you can turn to your 4 quarters. I'm facing the north. I ask the spirits and the powers of the north to enter my circle. I ask the spirits and the powers of the east to enter my circle. I ask the spirits and the powers of the south to enter my circle. I ask the spirits and the powers of the west to enter my circle, to witness us and lend us their power. We now have consecrated, well, not actually consecrated yet, a space that is magical, in which we can push our desires out into the world. And therefore, it's important that we set up all these positivities, because we don't want to throw some doubt into our work, or I don't know if this is really what I want to do. Just go with it. Ready? All right. Let's all here draw their minds into the presence of their bodies, that thoughts may be melded with flesh, blood, and bones, that the spirits of those gathered may be blended in one purpose, one voice, and one sacred space. Soul to soul, we weave our circle, spirit to spirit, that none may enter this sacred space, but those who come in tune with our intention and in peace. Soul to soul, spirit to spirit, we ask that this may be so. Now, I'm going to consecrate my space. And all of this, people ask, well, what are you so afraid of? Not afraid of anything. A lot of people seem to think that this has to do with a fear. It doesn't. It has to do with psychology. It has to do with setting up your mind to realize this isn't just your regular everyday situation, and that you need to pay attention with your subconscious And by continually asking and preparing the space to be free of negativity, you are making it easier for whatever magic you're trying to do to move out into the world. We're loaded with lots of negative messages, and we need to just kind of set that aside for a few minutes. All right. I should show you this. I have a little swan container, and I chose this because the swan represents fidelity, and so therefore is an excellent animal totem to use for the god and goddess, who are indeed matched together forever, and they will never leave each other. I have a little bit of salt in here, and I have a little bit of water in my little chalice. I'm going to stir that together, and this now, I say, creature of salt, I beseech thee that you may remove any evils from this water. I use it now to bless my space. And this is holy water. And that is what I'm doing. It's blessing my space. And that can be anywhere at all, but it's a good idea. The salt represents the earth, of course, and the water is an important element at all times because it allows everything to flow. Now, I am going to light the sage that I showed you before. If you light sage, you do not have to light an entire bundle like so. You can just pull a little piece out because honestly, you don't need to do it this way, but I've been using this one for a long time, so I'm just gonna go with it. Hopefully, there we go. With this sacred sage, I do consecrate and bless this space. Only love may come from within, and only love may enter. And again, I'm going to make a circle. I'm going to sage you. There you go. I'm going to go around and I'm going to sage my space. And again, I'm pushing away any negative thoughts, any negative energies. I do not want to be interrupted in my mind. And I bless myself, behind myself, below myself, and above myself. That smells great. I love the smell of sage. So some people don't like it. You can use other things. You certainly don't have to use sage. And that takes care of that. I'll move that over here. Whoops. All right. We're done. All right. Next thing that we're going to ask to join us are the ancestors. And that's sometimes a little bit hard for people if they've had negative issues in their family. But I ask you to think of all the ancestors, maybe not the ones that you had a problem with. We all come from hundreds and hundreds of people before us. So I feel like it's important to invite them to share in the spirit of the circle. We call to the ancestors of body and mind and spirit to be with us in our sacred rite, to our ancestors whose tears and blood, joy and happiness have been felt upon this land, whose songs course through our blood, and whose spirit lives on through our celebrations. We call to you all now to be with us in this rite. Now, I'm going to go ahead and light my candle. And the candle is here to represent the union between the god and goddess. I'm going to go ahead and light that now and hope that my fan doesn't blow it up. There we go. All right. I'm now going to call to the god and goddess. They like poetry, so I'm going to go with a little poem. I call upon my lady of the stars and moon, to the bringer of dreams and twilight. I call upon my lady of the loom, the weaver of fates in the night. I call upon the lady of the lake, the singer of the even song. I call upon the mother, maiden and crone, the goddess, alive and strong. I call upon the Lord of the sun, the rider in the sky. I call upon the Lord of the winds, to the eagle as he flies. I call upon the king stag, to the sun, lover and sacrifice. I call upon the Lord of the wild wood, the God, laughing, free, and wise. All right. We're gathered here to celebrate Beltane, abundance and fertility of nature that surrounds us. The fires of passion burn strong in the spring sunshine, and all nature turns to thoughts of love. We celebrate the greening of the leaves, the mating calls of the birds, the birthing of wild animals, and the union of the goddess and God. And now, oops, I forgot my little chalice. Hold on one second. This chalice, like this one and this cauldron, represents the goddess. And this is called an athame. It's a ritual knife. It's dull. It's not a sharp knife, but it's a ritual knife. And this represents the god, as one might imagine. I take the chalice and I hold this up. Let me just move this out of the way. We greet the time of unions and give honor to the Lord and the Lady for their fruitfulness today. We witness the marriage of my goddess and God. May their union be fertile and productive. As they are one, they become one. As they become one, they are one. And we are also one with them. Mother Goddess, Queen of the night and of the earth, Father God, King of the day and of the forest, we celebrate your union as nature rejoices in a riotous blaze of color and life. Accept us, Mother Goddess and Father God, in honor of your union and your love. From your mating shall spring forth life anew. A profusion of living creatures shall cover the lands, and the winds will blow pure and sweet. And haven't we seen that been happening lately? Ancient ones, we celebrate with you. Now, this would be a great place for us to go dance around a maypole or do some other kind of fun, sexy stuff. But that's not happening today, unfortunately. I do normally do a little feast here, and I have my blessed chalice. Did not bring myself a little something to eat. However, this is a great time if you want to grab a cracker or finish off your coffee or what have you. Cheers. All right. All right. Basically, that finishes this ritual. Like I say, there would be, under normal circumstances, if we were all together at church, let's say, or if I were out with my friends in the middle of the woods, we'd be having a big feast right now. We'd be eating and drinking. We would not have eaten and drank before the ritual. Usually you do a little bit of fasting before a ritual so that you are more focused on your spirituality. And then this break in the ritual gives everybody a chance to ground a little bit, come back into their bodies, because you can get a little spacey when you're in a big ritual with other folks. We have basically completed this ritual, but what I need to do now is ask for a few minutes of your time, just for a little bit of a meditation. Again, I would like you to sit back in your chair Roll back those shoulders, loosen up those jaws, loosen up those eyes, that forehead. Just loosen it up a little bit. This is a very, very tense time. It's a time of unknowns. It's a difficult yet interesting time. So we're going to let all that go for a moment. We're going to draw ourselves inside. And we're going to look for the part of us that is celebrating right now. It can't be helped. This is a time of celebration. In your heart of hearts, you know this to be true. Look for your most happy place and go there now. Take a deep breath through your nose or your mouth if you're stuffed up. Let go. Another deep breath in, and we're going to hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and let go. 2 more times. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, and let go. 1 more time. In. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, and let go. Now you should feel a level of peace and calm come over you. There's nothing like oxygen. A lot of powerful stuff going on in the world right now. We're leveling out. We're grounding back into our bodies. You may feel yourself swaying a little bit. That's okay. And bring it back down. And open your eyes and come back. I hope that gave you a sense of peace, a little bit of a time out in the midst of everything. We're going to come back to our circle now, and back to our bodies, back to our souls, back to the land which sustains us. And with the peace and blessings of the God and Goddess, we can go forth into our next day, our next bit of life that we need to do. I'm going to close the circle now. I'm going to ask all of the powers and entities that we have called forward and have witnessed our right to please now go back to their halls, go back to their homes of light and beauty. May the spirits of this place, the powers and the elements that have been called to witness this rite, be free now, and we thank you. Hail and farewell. Hail and farewell. Our circle is open, but not broken. We merry meet, we merry part, and merry meet again. I hope you have a great afternoon. Happy Beltane.